Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I thought we would talk about two significant vehicles that have come into the game in Update Wind of Change, and they're on two very opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to their usability, and also a general chat about one of the issues that has been a trend for a long time in War Thunder now. Well, maybe not a long time, but at least a year. Every update seems to have this issue with it, where certain vehicles get added and they're nowhere near the BRs that they should be. It's kind of as simple as that. They either are very much under BR'd or over BR'd when it comes to them. So the two vehicles we're going to have a look at are the PUMA and also the good old Zachlam M3. So the PUMA IFV has come into the War Thunder Live server at 8.3, and it is an absolute monster when it comes to the game. And it's because it takes some of the best parts of IFVs and also adds a bunch of nice parts from other vehicles as well, making it very, very hard to kill, which is a bit of an issue when it comes to the vehicle. And anybody who saw it on the dev server and saw it in its configuration knew that this was going to happen. And now, because of its strength, what it's doing is a ton of people are playing around 8.0 to 8.3 Germany, either trying to get the PUMA or using the PUMA, and now it's going to suck in all of the BR brackets around it. Now, the reason why this is going to be very effective, at least to me, is because of what I'm going to be grinding, and also what a bunch of new players are going to be grinding as well. One of the new tech tree, the main new tech tree, which has come into the game this update, is Israeli ground. The vast majority of its vehicles are 7.3, 7.7, 8.0, and also 8.3. The PUMA is 8.3, so if it dominates the 8.3 bracket, then that means that 9.3 to 8.3, 8.3 to 7.3 gets pulled into that bracket, which is exactly what's happening right now. I've been playing the Magak 1 and the Magak 2. APCR stock is a ridiculous thing. It should be changed. Could we please have a word? It's if you want to use the Heat FS excuse about top tier being balanced, please somebody explain to me how the APCR stock on a Magak 1 or 2 or M48 is balanced. Thank you. But anyway, the PUMA IFV is now controlling that BR bracket because of its overall strength. It has access to thermals, and not just bad thermals, very good thermals. Has access to insane optics, so it can use them from really good range. Has access to APFSDS, which does penetrate enough to be able to kill a lot of MBTs from the front, and also it has access to ridiculous protection, which is what is its main bonus right now. And also, at the same time, it has access to very good mobility because it has a massive engine. Its survivability is what sets it apart from other IFVs of the era. So at 8.0, you have a lot of IFVs which have scouting, thermals, missiles, stuff like the Warrior, stuff like the Bradley, even like the Type 89, I believe it is, which is around that BR, maybe a little bit higher than it. You got the Type 87 RCV, which is very fast but no survivability. All of these things can be killed by stuff like Heat FS. Okay, and the main round of a lot of vehicles from 7.0 to 8.0 is Heat FS. If you have a look, once again, if you want to look at the Israeli stuff, the Magak 1, the Magak 2, some of the Centurions that are around that BR, and even some of the later Magaks, their main round is Heat FS. The PUMA laughs at Heat FS. There is one thing, actually no, technically two things you can do with Heat FS against a PUMA from the front. You can shoot it in the turret and hope to blow up its ammo, which doesn't kill it because it has blowout panels, but what it does is it neuters the vehicle, at least for a little bit. So you can do that and stop it from firing, but then because of its thermals and its optics, it can just scout everything anyway, letting the whole team know where your whole team is. Or you can lower glaze at it and take out its engine, hopefully set it on fire, and then maybe after 3 fires it'll die. In that time, while you're doing that, it will scout you and it will shoot you, and it will be able to either take out your gun, it'll be able to just fully penetrate you like it can do on the Magaks, or maybe it will just destroy you. So overall, there's not a lot you can do against it if you are a Heat FS slinger. Especially if you don't have a stabilizer, which a lot of vehicles from 7.0 to 8.0 don't have. So this thing in a down tier is an absolute monster, and it's ruining games because of it. And as I said, this has been a trend for a while with these light vehicles. The Type 87 RCV came into the game, was it at 7.0 or 7.3? Now it's at 8.3 because it's very maneuverable. The gun itself is not the best, but if you get on the side of vehicles, it's incredibly good. The STRF 9040B, I have no idea why it came into the game at the BR that it was at. I believe that was also at 8.3. And now it's at 9.0 after one BR update. And the PUMA is going to be the same way. It's going to jump at least 2 BR brackets because of its usefulness. So what I'm pleading for right now is to do it right now, because it is very obvious what is going to happen with this machine. It is going to take over the meta. And it isn't just the fact that this vehicle is, you know, really, really good. It's also the fact that around it, for Germany, you have really good lineups. So everybody's going to be able to do very well with it, even if you somehow die in the PUMA, which has more survivability than any IFE around the place, and also most MBTs at its BR, by the way. So if you somehow are able to die in that, no idea how you're going to do that, you'll still be able to back it up with some fantastic vehicles because it's a German vehicle. And also, you have the airstrike ability. So you'll be able to get into planes easier while getting beaten up in your PUMA if you are brain dead enough to die. So this thing needs to go up now. It's going to cripple this BR bracket. It's really bad right now. It doesn't have a weakness against stuff which has heat. So half of the vehicles that it faces can't do anything against it. So what do you do against it? Well, as I said, you can knock out the gun, you can knock out the ammo, or you can knock out the engine. That's all you can do from the front. You can't do anything else. And from the side, it's got a bunch of composite on the side, which actually protects the crew. So you can't even shoot it from the side. So what do you do against it? Like, well, just as I said, the best thing you could do is shoot it in the turret and hope for the best. I am not looking forward to playing the 7-7 Israelis, because I know for a fact I'm going to face full teams of this. Because for some reason the matchmaking for the Israelis right now is you are stuck on the American teams, and it's America versus Soviets and Germans. So you don't just have to deal with Pumas, you also have to deal with stuff like PT-7657s and T-55AMs, which are the counter to something like a Puma. So I can already see the issues that stuff like the Israeli tree is going to have, stuff like the American tree is going to have, stuff like the British tree is going to have against this thing. And whoever made the decision to put it at 8.3 needs to reassess this decision and put it up very quickly before it annihilates this BR bracket, which it already is doing. The other vehicle is the Zachlam M3 Tager, which is an absolute abomination to the game, I think is probably the way to put it, and also got worse over the last little bit. Here's a statement from Esmin after the devlog of it was edited last week, and now it says, from today, dear tankers, just an update to this as some of you have been forwarding questions regarding this vehicle and its guidance systems. As our devlogs are an insight into content still currently being worked on and configured, it's often the case that as we reach the final stages, additional information is located and some changes can occur between the initial devlog proposals and the final release of the vehicle. Naturally, we try to ensure the blogs are always a reflection, as close as possible, of how this vehicle will appear in the game, but changes can happen at every stage of a vehicle's introduction, and even after it's been introduced, thanks to historical reports submitted by players and further research. New information comes to light by our developers and consultants. Initially, the devlog for the mentioned an upgrade module that would allow a semi-automatic guidance version of the missile weaponry featured on this vehicle, as well as we believed this to be a possible upgrade and had information to support such systems being installed and retrofitted to similar missile platforms. Subsequently, however, after further research by our developers, consultants, and also comments by players, it was finally concluded that a Zachlam system for this vehicle wasn't possible to install. So we updated the blog to reflect this, and the vehicle never received this module upgrade. We apologize for any confusion on the subject, and thank you for understanding, the War Thunder team. So there you go. The Zachlam, the only thing that was making it semi-decent, has been removed from it. So now what you are is a SS11 wielding platform. I would just like to remind you that the AMX13 SS11, yes, that's right, that's the AMX13, which currently is at 6.7 with the SS11 missiles, and also the standard AMX13 is at 6.7 without the missiles, showing that the SS11s don't seem to have a performance impact on the AMX13, is at 6.7. The Zachlam is at 7.3. Why? I don't know. It has worse mobility. It has it cannot move the missiles from side to side. You have to be directly pointing at the target to use it. You have scouting, I suppose, but so does the AMX. And yeah, you don't have any armor. You can die to artillery. You can be overpressured, and also you have an exposed ammo rack in the form of the missiles. This vehicle is completely useless, and when it came to the dev server on it, I basically said this, and said that this was going to be an awful vehicle. And guess what? It is an awful vehicle. There was a bunch of people saying, oh, well, it's unique, and you'll have fun playing it. No, nobody will have fun playing this, because guess what? It's at 7.3, and it can face PUMAs. Think about how ridiculous the situation is for this vehicle that it can face stuff like T-55AMs and PUMAs. This thing should be nowhere near 7.3, but for some reason in the game it is. And there was this Q&A that they did a while back talking about ATGM carriers, and for some reason there is a hard lock on, the minimal BR for ATGM carriers. I've no idea why they're doing this. It doesn't need to be in place. There is no need for it to be in place. But also at the same time, that can't be what's going on in this scenario, because the AMX13 SS11, which has exactly the same missiles as this thing, is at 6.7. So, along with the PUMA going up, could we please lower this thing before anybody actually gets hold of it? And I'm sure there are some people who've got a hold of it already, but this thing is useless. It is just a vehicle to be able to scout with. That's it. You can't use it for anything else. The SS11s are not good enough. They are too hard to control. And at the same time, in order to use them, you have to expose your vehicle. So if you do that, you aren't able to move while the missile is in the air, and you will just die. It's not a fun scenario. It's really not. Nothing about this vehicle is fun. For the love of God, please just move this vehicle. There is no reason it's at the BR it is. If there's any justification for it, please let me know. Because it can't be its ATGMs, because there's vehicles lower than it which have ATGMs. It can't be the mixture of ATGMs and scouting, because there are vehicles below it which have both. It can't be its mobility, because it's terrible. It can't be its protection, because that's also terrible. And it can't be its survivability, because the three people in it literally sit next to each other in the front and can be 50 cal to death. So what is going on? Why do we have these vehicles where some of them are massively under BR'd and massively over BR'd in the same update? When anybody with even just maybe a year of experience of the game and played around these BR brackets can tell you that this is a serious issue. How is this information not getting through before these changes are made? You can make the argument with something like the PUMA. Like, you can make the very, what I would class as very disrespectful and disgusting argument of the fact that they put it at the BR so people can, gold it, and people can go through with it, have a great time, and then they're going to put it up in the BR. Basically, what a lot of people said about the Harrier GR1, which makes a bit more sense because it's a premium, but at the same time, it's a pretty disrespectful argument, right? Because it's basically saying it's money motivated, which, yes, there are things in War Thunder which are definitely money motivated, but for stuff like that, I find it very hard to believe because of other reasons. But what is the reason for the Zachlam to be where it is? Once again, the only argument you can make is the disrespectful one, which is you've put it here, so it's higher to research in the form of RP. It's like 130,000 at rank 5. So you want it to be a rank 5, so you put it at 7.3, and also you want people to go through its modifications so they don't have to play it, right? That's the only argument that you can make for this damn thing. I have a fundamental misunderstanding of what's going on here, and I would love for somebody from the Gaijin team who makes these decisions to be able to explain it to me. I would absolutely love it, because it keeps happening. As I said, it happened with the STRF 9040B. It happened with the Type 87 RCV. It's happening with a lot of these light vehicles. Their BRs are all over the place. It even happened with the M3A3 Bradley, technically, when it was put in at 8.7. Or 8.3, I believe it was 8.7 though, and it just kept going up in BR. It's the same thing, it keeps happening over and over and over again. So when are we going to get to the point where we realize maybe these vehicles are being undervalued? Just maybe. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Merciless Reaper, Jerry Provolt, Mega Dino King, Professor X1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, Moxie, B. Young, and Derek R., Barine, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.